שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבט אחים גם יחד.
Back to that second part. Ya na na, ya na na, ya na na na, ya na na, ya na 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 na, ya na na, ya na na, ya na na na, ya na na, ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na, ya na na, ya na na, ya na na, ya na 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 na, ya na na. Second part, here we go. You're invited. Ya na na na, ya na na, ya na na na, ya na na na, ya na 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 na, ya na na na, ya na na, ya na na na, ya na na na, ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na, ya na na na, ya na 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 na, ya na na, ya na na, ya na na, ya na 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 na. Second part. Ya na na na, ya na na, ya na na na, ya na na, ya na 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 na, ya na na, ya na na, ya na na na, ya na na, ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na, ya na na na, ya na 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 na, ya na na, ya na na, ya na na, ya na na. Second part. Ya na na na, ya na na, ya na na na, ya na na na, ya na 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 na, ya na na na, ya na na, ya na na na, ya na na na, ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na, ya na na, ya na 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 na, ya 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 na na, ya.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to our Shabbat Shirah service. If you haven't been here before, we At our Shabbat Shira service, we take the normal order of a service and lovingly set it aside and pick a theme and work a Shabbat prayer experience around that theme, mixing some of our regular prayers with some songs that maybe you didn't think were prayers before. I feel like it's unfair that you're on a taller stool than I am.
It is.
You're already so much taller than me.
Do you want to trade, Rabbi?
No.
I'll do it.
Not right now.
Okay.
Maybe later.
All right.
So as we are in our darkest month and approaching, thank you, Andy, the holiday of Hanukkah, we are thinking tonight about the concept of courage and knowing that many of the themes of Hanukkah are eternal. Thank you very much. And
I love it.
here, let's see how this is. I can't reach. Oh, hi. Wow, this is really, really tall. Yeah, now I'm gonna just like fall right off. That's all right. And one of the things I've been thinking about with courage, I'm just gonna say for the grown-ups in the room, especially I think when courage perhaps leads to zealotry, and thinking about the news of this past week of one person who took a matter into his own hands and decided to end a life of somebody because he represented something that maybe that, just a hot take, maybe that's not the solution. And so thinking about the idea that courage can't be the thing in and of itself. That courage has to lead to something that is perhaps more productive. So tonight we're going to be exploring different things that courage can lead to or can be connected to. And I am delighted to be here with two wonderful human beings. Iran, our music director, I often get to be here with you, and it is always wonderful. And Dan Nichols, our guest. I rarely get to be with you. Also, it's wonderful for being with us. Dan is here this weekend throughout some different places in Seattle. If you haven't had the chance to experience the gift of Dan, you're welcome. You can thank us later. Dan
Or no.
is an incredible Jewish musician, teacher, spiritual leader who spends his time traveling around the country. Are you ever home?
Just a little bit.
A little bit? Okay. And one of the things, so there are a lot of people that make music and make Jewish music, and one of the things I think that makes Dan really special is that you bring your whole self. You are courageous in the way that you bring yourself and are vulnerable in the work that you do, and that helps us connect with you and create an experience for all of us. And so as I was thinking about what we were going to do here tonight, you are the person that I know that we can do this together and have it be meaningful. So thank you for being here. And our first song tonight is going to be something to bring us, oh, Aaron gave you this little, our first song is going to bring us into Shabbat. Why? I'll fix that in just a second when oh, it's you. Oh, Marshall. Okay. So as we are letting go of the week, the stresses of the week, and bring ourselves into Shabbat, one of the things that I was thinking about is what it means to have the courage to rest. Because we live in a society that is always telling us that we need to keep going and keep pushing and keep producing. And if you're familiar with the concept of nap ministry, Trisha Hersey is the person who has this thing called nap ministry. She says that rest is a form of resistance because it pushes back and disrupts a system that views human bodies as a tool for production and labor. It is a counter-narrative. We know that we are not machines. We are divine. You want me to bring it back now?
These words we're going to sing are by Abraham Joshua Heschel. The thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind, and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day, and eternity utters a day. Has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind, and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity others a day, and eternity others a day.
The gift of rest also gives us the opportunity to re-engage, to choose to come back into the work that we're doing. And in order to do that, I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to have the courage to believe, right? To believe in a possibility of something. And whether or not that idea of belief is connected to a source of divinity for you, one of the hard things that we have to do is grapple with really hard questions. And sometimes when you do take that rest, it could be tempting to just say, it's a lot easier out here, and to not come back to the questions again and again and again. And so as we prepare to move into Shema, which is our song of declaration, our song declaring our faith in our belief in one God, we're going to begin with a song called Always There that Dan wrote. And I'll invite you, if you want to say anything about this, you don't have to, where it came from.
Oh, okay. I'd be happy to. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I had a huge argument with a woman I was living with, and it was one of those kind of arguments where we're gonna argue and fight this through till the argument's over, and then we will arrive at some point where we're okay. Well, my memory is that it just went on and on and on, and it wasn't okay, and she went to sleep. At least it wasn't okay for me. I'll remember that. And it was 4 a.m, thereabouts, and she's moved on. She's sound asleep in bed, and I'm still holding on to this anger and resentment, and I'm hanging on to this very bad feeling. And I'm looking at her and kind of amazed that she's let it go, and frustrated that I have not. And I went to my guitar and I started writing down this song, and I shared it with my friend Mason Cooper, who was my songwriting partner at the time. And I said, this is where I'm at right now. And he said, where you are right now is not altogether so different from where I'm at with God. And what if we finish the song holding those ideas together, and what could happen? And that's this song. turned away, would you wait for me? And if I sometimes strayed, would you set me free? If I were to doubt you, would you still believe in me? And if I saw the truth, would you somehow help me see? My heart's filled with questions that my head can't answer. Still with my reservations, I find you're always there. When I'm tiptoeing backward like a faithless dancer, without hesitation, I find you're always there. If I spoke to you, would you try to hear the secrets lost inside of me and all my deepest fears? My heart's filled with questions that my head can't answer. Still with my reservations, I find you're always there. When I'm tiptoeing backward like a faithless dancer, without hesitation, I find you're always there. Oh, 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 oh. My doubt, your love, cold hands, warm touch, closed mind, open heart, last chance, new start. My heart's filled with questions that my head can't answer. Still with my reservations, I find you're always there. When I'm tiptoeing backward like a faithless dancer, without hesitation, I find you're always there. If I were to doubt you. Adonai
שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד.
I'm going to invite up Ariel, who's becoming a B mitzvah tomorrow and will lead us in Ve'ahavta. And as Ariel's making her way up here to the microphone, our prayer Ve'ahavta that comes after Shema, one of the foundational ideas of Ve'ahavta is about the tradition. Get that microphone. Just say, excuse me, Dan, can I use that mic? To teaching, the commitment to teach the children and teach each generation. And the other day, as Aran and I were talking about the Shabbat, oh, you get your own microphone. Ooh, lucky you. As Aran and I were talking about this Shabbat, and I asked Aran, where do you see hope? And I hope it's okay.
Of course,
Share
yeah.
what you said. Aran's response beautifully was preschools. And so then we started talking about this idea that preschool teachers and teachers in general come into education for all sorts of different reasons. And for someone to stay as an educator, there has to be a sense of hope that there can be something better, that there is a hope in the future generations. Otherwise, why would you invest energy in them? And I love that idea of finding hope in our preschool teachers, some of whom are in this room tonight. And we're going to be delighted tomorrow to celebrate Ariel as she takes on that role of that next chain of sort of transitioning from becoming the child who receives to being the one who gets to teach us tomorrow. So, ready? Okay.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אלוהים מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננת לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי ותהיו קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם
אמת.
Yesh koach.
יישר כוח.
Beautiful. So as we were thinking about this idea of having the courage to return, the courage to lean into the problems of the world, and one of the things I was thinking about that I think a lot I'm hearing from so many people right now is wrestling with this sense of power and powerlessness, and perhaps if some things didn't go the way you wanted in the election, or things in the world are not going the way that you would hope they would, and it feels like, how is this possible? I'm doing all the things, and the people I know are doing all the things. And I think there's something to being able to recognize our own powerlessness and accepting that without losing hope. So before we move into our prayer Mechamocha, Dan is going to share a song that is written by a different Dan called God Said No that plays with some of these ideas.
I met God on the edge of town, where the wind meets the stillness, where the darkness meets the light, where the ocean meets the sky, where the desert meets the rain, where the earth meets the heavens, on the edge of town. I met God. I ask God, do one thing for me. Send me back in time. Send me to Seattle. Let me go find Kurt Cobain. Take away his gun. Take away his bullets. Talk to him. Make him want to live. Tell him how we love him. Help him see his glory. God said no. If I sent you back, if you really found him, you would only ask him if he could help you get a deal, if he knows a lawyer, if he can help you. God said no. I ask God, do one thing for me. Send me back in time. Send me to Berlin. Let me find the one they call Hitler. I will stalk him. I will bring him down. I will bring a long, powerful gun, loaded with bullets, obliterate his memory. God said no. If I sent you back, you would get caught up in theory and discussion. You would let your fears delay and distract you. You would make friends. You would take a lover. God said no. I ask God, do one thing for me. Send me back in time. Send me to Jerusalem. Let me go. Let me go find Jesus. Let me save his life. As they try to kill him, let me take him down, down from the cross. Take the iron from his body, try to heal his wounds. God said no. If I let you go, if you really found him walking with the cross, you would stare, your tongue no longer working, Eyes no longer seeing, ears no longer hearing. God said, time belongs to me. Time's a secret weapon, my final advantage. And God turned away from the edge of town. I knew I was beaten, and that now was all I had. God said, no.
Hi, Frankie. When we feel sometimes powerless to the vastness of the world, whether it is thinking, gosh, I wish I could just go back and change this thing, or it's, oh my gosh, there are so many things. How can we possibly move forward? We turn to the story of Exodus, and there's a reason that we sing Mi Chamocha every single service. One of our rabbis who was here this past weekend, Rabbi Bess Molnar, shared her story that she tells every time about when she was here. I know.
Incredible. Y'all are lucky.
That for her, Mi Chamocha is about the idea that when you are so stuck, that recognizing that there could be a way through that you have no idea, like you cannot even possibly imagine. And in those moments where you're like, well, this is it. God knows that there's going to be a Red Sea, and we might not know what that is. We don't know what it's going to look like, but there's something there. And our song of the sea, Mi Chamocha, comes from the book of Exodus, and I don't know how much anyone here has studied all the different authors and editors of the Torah, but one of the fascinating things about the Song of the Sea is that in the 4 groups of editors of the Torah, this piece came from Maccabees, very shortly after the Hanukkah story, the Hanukkah revolt. So some Maccabean leaders in the 100 BCEs took this beautiful song, which is one of the oldest pieces of text that are in the Torah, wanted to make sure that it was right at that point of the story where the redemption happens, that we have this song of freedom. And I think that they wanted us to be able to come to this time and time again. They had, if you put yourself in the frame of mind of what they may have felt like in that moment of like, they finally made it, right? They were oppressed and they were fighting for religious freedom, and they suffered a lot, and a lot of people lost their lives, and they made it through. And the thing that they thought to themselves, this is what we want the people to remember, is what it feels like as you are crossing through that point of redemption of like, finally. So as we're singing our Mi Chamocha tonight, you can think about maybe something in your life where you have experienced that, where you're like, feel totally stuck, and then somehow, some way, you finally have that moment of like, oh my gosh, it's going to be okay. There is a path forward. And maybe there's something in your life right now where you're trying to find that path, and so maybe it's sort of working on that belief to know that that path is there.
כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושה תחרה ובניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
If you look in our prayer book at Michamocha, right around this song, prayer, there's a poem from Yehuda Amichai, and what is my lifespan? I'm like a person who's gone out of Egypt. So if you spend a lot of time in the Siddur, you probably know this well. The Red Sea parts, I cross on dry land, 2 walls of water on my right and on my left, Pharaoh's army and his horsemen behind me, before me the desert, perhaps the promised land too. That is my lifespan. This poem that Amichai wrote is part of actually a series of poems. So that's the 3rd verse, if you will. And what I find interesting is that 2 poem verses later, he has another paragraph that talks about what is my lifespan then. And in that one, he says, like shooting a self-portrait, I set up the camera a few feet away on something stable, the one thing that's stable in this world. I decide on a good place to stand near a tree, run back to the camera, press the timer, run back again to that place near the tree, and I hear the ticking of time, the whirring like a distant prayer, the click of the shutter like an execution. That is my lifespan. God develops the picture in God's big dark room. And so I love this idea that he's playing with the bigness in our lives and the small, still moments of taking a picture. And at the end of these series of poems, he ends with a paragraph, a poem that always is very striking to me. I'm going to share it with you. It's like this. I believe with perfect faith that at this very moment, millions of human beings are standing at crossroads and intersections, in jungles and deserts, showing each other where to turn, what the right way is, which direction. They explain exactly where to go, what is the quickest way to get there, when to stop and ask again, there, over there, the second turnoff, not the first, and from there left or right, near the White House, by the oak tree. They explain with excited voices, with a wave of the hand and a nod of the head, there, over there, not that there, the other there, as in some ancient rite. This too is a new religion. I believe with perfect faith that at this very moment. And so as we move from Michamocha out of that the bigness, right, of walking through the Red Sea, perhaps holding hands with other people, and think about what those portraits are, those small moments, and perhaps these moments of just standing at the crossroads helping somebody, and what it means to have the courage to lean into the small things in our lives. I asked Dan to share another beautiful song by someone named Bob Blue called Courage that I think speaks to this. And as always, if you want to
A small thing once happened at school that brought up a question for me. And somehow it brought me to see the price that I pay to be cool. Diane is a girl that I know. She's strange like she doesn't belong. I don't mean to say that it's wrong. We don't like to be with her though. And so when we all made a plan to have this big party at Sue's, most kids in our school got the news, but no one invited Diane. The thing about Taft Junior High is secrets don't last very long. I acted like nothing was wrong when I saw Diane start to cry. I know you may think that I'm cruel. It doesn't make me very proud. I just went along with the crowd. It's sad, but you have to at school. You can't pick the friends you prefer. You fit in as well as you can. Well, I couldn't be friends with Diane, 'cause then they would treat me like her. In one class at Taft Junior High, we study what people have done with gas chamber bomber and gun in Auschwitz, Japan, and My Lai. I don't understand all I learn. Sometimes I just sit there and cry. The whole world stood idly by to watch as the innocent burned. Like robots obeying some rule, atrocities done by the mob, all innocent doing their job. And what was it for? Was it cool? The world was aware of this hell, but how many cried out in shame? What heroes? Who was to blame? A story that no one dared tell. I promise to do what I can to not let it happen again. To care for all women and men. I'll start by inviting Diane. You ever been so angry with somebody that it just burned inside? You were so mad, you wanted to say the most hurtful things as a way to strike back for all of the pain you felt, for the toxins spewed in your direction. Elohai Nitzor invites us to pump the brakes, to do a cheshbon hanefesh, a soulful intake that empowers us to cool down, to reflect on hurt feelings, and at our best, fashion a loving response that does not depend on hurtful speech. This prayer asks God to help us find a more sacred pathway through conflict, a healing and hope-filled pathway that will ultimately help us feel closer to God. Elohai Netzor Lishoni Mera Elohai Netzor Lishoni Mera. Oh my God, watch over me. Take the hurt away from how I speak. Only love flows from you. May every word I speak be true. Elohai Netzor Lishoni Mera. Elohai Netzor Lishoni Mera. When words are thrown, I'll hold my tongue and breathe the air of songs I've sung. That refrain I'll repeat. There's more to you than only me. Elohai Netzor Lishoni Mera. Elohai Netzor Lishoni Meira. Usvatai midaber mirma. Velimka elai nafshi tidom. Venafshi kefar lakol tiyeh. Hai na na, hai na na na. Hai na na, hai na na na. Hai na na, hai na na na. Hai na na, hai na na na.
We take a moment now to join together in our prayer for healing, our Misha Berach prayer. And the version that we most often sing was written by Debbie Freeman and Devorah Settle. Mixes some Hebrew and some English together and encourages us, as it says there in the English, to have to find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And Debbie was someone who lived her entire life with chronic pain. And I think, Aaron and I were also talking about this the other day, that like probably most of us have stuff and walk around perhaps not always comfortable, maybe some more than others, some less than others. And we were just reflecting on the generations that came before us, that maybe it was just accepted that we're all living in pain. And just naming that wow, holy cow, that life is hard, and that whether we have a chronic illness or we have things that we're going through, whatever it is, that most of us have a thing, sometimes multiple things. And so this prayer is a prayer asking for healing, but it's also about reminding ourselves and asking God to help us have the courage to live our lives and to make our lives a blessing, despite the fact that we all live with so many hard, debilitating things that could be reason enough to say, this is not a blessing, no thank you. Dan and I have another mutual rabbi friend, Rabbi Laura Polin-Regev, who has a beautiful, who also knew Debbie and has a beautiful teaching reminder about the way that Debbie wrote this two-part blessing.
Oh, I love it. As I remember, Laura said to me that she took a session, a class with Debbie, and Debbie was having the opportunity to share with the group about where this prayer came from for her and why she built this prayer in the way she did. And the notion here, if I remember it correctly from Laura telling it to me, who heard it from Debbie, was that before we can have even the chutzpah to ask God to bring healing for another, we have to be willing to have the chutzpah to ask God for the courage to make our own lives a blessing before we ask God to heal another. And I remember hearing that and think that was a pretty beautiful and radical idea. And I just wanted to share that. Yeah. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
I do have one clarification as we move forward, that I don't think you actually wrote this song.
I didn't.
But you might have multiple names. I just don't know.
This song was written by Susan Werner. She's a songwriter from Chicago, Illinois. I was attending a conference where we learned, hopefully, to do this work better, with more authenticity, with more intention. And I heard it sung by Cantor Ellen Dreskin and Cantor Rosalie Will, and they then taught me how to sing it. You know, and this idea of chutzpah is an interesting one. There's a book that I recommend we check out. I think it's called The Chutzpah Imperative by Ed Feinstein. The idea that baked into the soul of the Jewish people is chutzpah. Chutzpah is in Torah embodied with all of these characters, all of these figures who have the courage, the chutzpah to argue with God, to challenge God's perception of what is happening here on earth. And that is the thing that has been the most important component that keeps the Jewish people alive, is that. And I can tell you this, that in the last year, this song, which I love singing and I'm often asked to sing it for the last 15 years I've been singing it. This last year, in 3 different communities, I had people come up to me and say, "Are you planning on singing that May I Suggest song?" And I said, "No, I wasn't." And they said, this are 3 different towns, 3 different people. All of them said, "Good. Please do not sing that."
I thought they were going to say, may I suggest that you do sing it?
So I think that's interesting. The song has not changed, and yet maybe we haven't somehow, in some ways. And there's chutzpah in this message. And I can understand, I think, why someone would come up to me and say that. Please don't sing this right now. And we're going to sing it right now. I am. You're invited. The words are on the screen so that you can engage if you wish. Okay. May I suggest to you, may I suggest this is the best part of your life. May I suggest this time is blessed for you. This time is blessed and shining almost blinding bright. Just turn your head and you'll begin to see the 1,000 reasons that were just beyond your sight. The reasons why I suggest to you, why I suggest this is the best part of your life. There is a world that's been addressed to you, intended only for your eyes. A secret world, like a treasure chest to you, of private scenes and brilliant dreams that mesmerize. A lover's trusting smile, a tiny baby's hands, the million stars that fill the turning sky at night. And I suggest to you, I suggest this is the best part of your life. There is a hope that's been expressed in you, the hope of 7 generations, maybe more. And this is the faith that they invest in you, is that you'll do one better than was done before. Inside you know, inside you understand, inside you know it's yours to finally set right. And I suggest to you, and I suggest this is the best part of your life. This is a song, comes from the west to you, comes from the west, comes from the slowly setting sun. With our request of you, to see how very short the endless days will run. And when they're gone, and when the dark descends, we'd give anything for one more hour of life. And I suggest this is the best part of your life.
We take time now to honor the memory of loved ones that we've lost and join together in the words of Mourner's Kaddish, which is perhaps the most chutzpahdik of the Jewish prayers, that when you're mourning and in grief, that you recite this prayer about the goodness of God and the goodness of the world and a belief in things eternal right at that moment where it might be the hardest to believe. We go through these motions and recite these words knowing that maybe they're just sitting on our heart and aren't penetrating at that moment, and that's the best we can do. And maybe, probably, one day we'll get to a place where they do sink in again. As a community, we are in the Shloshim period, the 30-day period, mourning the recent loss of Roberta Pease, one of our congregants, mother to Jan, Amy, Lisa, and grandmother to Hannah and Marina. We remember Leslie Naylor, father of Philippa Poznansky, father-in-law to Victor Poznansky, and grandfather to Ilana and Josh. And we also mourn the recent loss of Dr. Irene Jaffa, one of our congregants, wife of Ron Louie, mother to Rebecca and Michaela. We also, as a community, mark the yard sites of loved ones who died at this time in years past. We remember Donald Alowitz, Sanford Altshuel, Mark Bassett, Pearl Dover, Brian Hale, Shirley Knopf, Annalise Nathan, Susan Rachel Ziff, Boru Benji Dorfman, Hilda Goldstein, Lee Kassoff, Bonita, Bonnie Nadler, Tessie Kornblue, Shirley Lewis, Rebecca Miller, Evelyn Roderick, Elise Dishy, and Shirley F. Edelson. If there are other loved ones that you're remembering tonight, or if we mispronounced a name, if you're on the live stream, if you found your way to the live stream, welcome. Please share in the chat. If you want to share any names with us, please do so now. As is our custom here at Temple B'nai Torah, if you're able, we invite everybody to rise in support of our mourners as we join together. Yikadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, ve'alma tivrach v'rotei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yom echon, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala b'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nachamata damiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'momav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Go ahead and be seated.
And let us say, Amen. 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 This is an English translation of the Chatzi Kaddish and Kadisha Tom that we just prayed. May your wonder be celebrated. May your name be consecrated. May your brilliance never fade from the magnificent world you made. May your ways prevail in our own days, in our own lives, and in the life of all Israel. And let us say, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, and let us say, Amen. May your name receive the same beauty that you bring, though you are far beyond the sweetest songs we could ever sing. And let us say, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbos.
Thank you so much for being here with us. Such a gift.
Thank you for the trust you put in me to let me join you in this way, and I mean this as a compliment. Experiment with tefillah the way we have tonight. I've not seen this done anywhere else the way you did this tonight, and I get around. I'm out about 190 days a year at Reform synagogues all over North America, and this was inspiring and highly interesting and engaging in a way that, for me, services and tefillah I've not experienced anything like this before, and I'm very grateful for the trust that you would place in me to have this time in this way. Even with romper room behind us the whole night, it just kind of felt like a Seder. You were at my house at Seder, and the kids were in the other room running around while we were finishing up. And I'm very grateful, and thank you so much for this. Let's go out the way we came in. See you at the JCC, okay, on Sunday afternoon. All right? Next part. Na Let's try it. Here we go. Yai, nai, na, na. Yai, nai, nai, yai, nai, nai, na. Yai, nai, na, na. Yai, na, 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 na. Yai, nai, na, na. Yai, nai, nai, yai, nai, nai, na. Yai, nai, na, na. Yai, nai, 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 na. Yai, nai, 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 na. Yai, nai, na, 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 na. Yai, nai, na, nai, 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 na. Yai, na, na. Yai, na, na. Yai, na, na. Yai, na, nai, nai, na, nai. Yai, nai, 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 na. Yai, nai, 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 nai. Yai, nai, 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 nai.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.